Hello and welcome to the Hold All Tickets World Pool preview for King George Day at Ascot. And you know what? We're even going to go via York on the way through. I'm your host, Alex Donnelly. Of course, we are brought to you by the World Pool and the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Bet with the world with the World Pool. But today, we are upping this show. For the first time ever, we have a special guest dialing in all the way from the UK, is racing journalist from the Sun UK, Callum Jamieson. Callum, what's up?
G'day, how are you doing?
Oh, going well, mate. Going well. Of course, we caught up in England last month.
hmm
Good to have you on. And obviously, a lot of the racing is really starting to heat up over in the UK at the moment. A massive weekend this weekend with the King George. But of course, next weekend we do have Glorious Goodwood. And then the York Festival comes up. It's an exciting time for you.
Yeah, the flat season has always got a great sort of narrative to it. You go from Ascot to Goodwood, not far after that, but between that you've still got the King George. It's like real mid-season high point, I'd say, highlight for these middle distance sort of champions. And you get horses from France and stuff coming over. Obviously, Aidan's always got a great team. Yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, so we are taking you through the King George Day. We're going to go through that race in depth because it is one of the biggest races in the UK. And of course, it is the feature this weekend. We'll have a talk about a couple of races on the card at Ascot as well. And a quick overlook at races 2 and 3 at York, a couple of interesting runners and a few of the races there. But I do need to note on Sunday with the World Pool, if you want to keep betting all weekend, it is Champions Day at Greyville in South Africa. All 10 races from there will be in the World Pool, and a couple of races over at Munich, races 5 and 6 on Sunday. So plenty of World Pool racing to come your way this weekend, of course, thanks to the World Pool. But Callum, we may as well not waste any more time. Let's get into this King George. Now, we are recording this at 6 p.m. Thursday evening in Australia. So declarations are about to drop officially for the King George, but you said you've got a pretty good idea of what the field is going to be, and it's going to be a small but select field.
Yeah, the race, it tends to get that where it falls, to be honest. But I mean, we've had numerous great finishes recently with this small field. You know, it's the best horses turn up. The horses that are short of don't often turn up because there's weaker options for them at Goodwood next week. So yeah, don't let the small field sort of affect it. It's always a great race. I think Kalangadan will definitely run. Jan Brugel will definitely run. That'll be Aidan's number one. I think his others that he left in earlier in the week are there in case Jan Brugel doesn't run. Rebels Romance, Kalpana, and probably Green Impact as well. I think that might be the sort of main five with Continuous as the pacemaker, I think.
Just quickly take us through that. Pacemakers, it's a foreign
Mm,
concept to most of the punters here in Australia. Of course, Aidan kind of got in trouble a few years ago when he bought Septimus over for the Melbourne Cup.
mm.
Basically, given the small field, this is just to ensure that this is just a decent enough gallop and they're not going to go at hurdle speed.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially with this small field, Aidan will be very keen to make sure it is run at a proper gallop. Um, I mean, you obviously don't get them in Australia. It's quite. We only get them through Aidan and maybe Godolphin and Jumpmonts. They're probably the only kind of people that do it. So it's not unusual, I'd say, but it's not sort of an everyday thing either.
So we'll take a look at the first of 3 replays. We'll look here. And here's Rebels Romance winning the Hardwick Stakes at Royal Ascot. And it was a very decent win because, 1, it broke a massive run of outs for Charlie Appleby at Royal Ascot. But 2, he was so tough, as we can see him here.
Yeah, he's just, you know exactly what you're going to get with this horse every single time. I mean, you just look through his CV, his recent form, he literally runs to the same number every single time. He'll get his ground again on Saturday, and even with this small field, he probably won't be far behind the pacemaker, and he'll be hitting the line as hard as anyone, basically.
Yeah, so as we can see here, he's just sustaining a really strong gallop. And obviously, this is over the course and distance that it will be this
Mm,
weekend at Ascot over the 2,400 metres, as we call it here, but you call it a mile 4.
mm.
So you expect him just to almost take up a sit in behind Jan Brugel and Continuous, who we saw Continuous. He was the pacemaker
Yeah.
in the Prince of Wales.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, tactics are probably the real key thing for this. I mean, Kalangadan is probably more of a 10 furlong horse, I'd say, so mile 2. But they've been trying him at a mile and a half quite often as well. I'd say Rebels Romance is a mile and a half. He's even run over a mile and 6 this year, so stamina's probably more in his bag. And then Jan Brugel's a St. Ledger winner over a mile 6 as well. So those two are the ones with Continuous that are going to want Continuous to go really hard. If they get it right, I think they might probably outstay Clangadan. But if they go too slow, Clandagan is probably the one that's probably got more gears than these two. So I think that is what the whole race I would say is based on to an extent. Obviously, you can always have these things in your mind, and when they come out the stalls, Kalangadan might try and make the running, and it all goes out the window. But to me, especially with the pacemaker in there, it's pretty obvious how I think it will look for until the last 2 furlongs, basically.
Next of our replays is the Pretty Polly Stakes at the Curragh, where Kalpana gets edged out by Whirl here. Kalpana looked like she had the race won for all money, but just didn't seem to run out a strong 2,000 metres and now needs to step to 2,400 metres.
Yeah, I really thought she would win this day. I mean, she was up against the 3-year-old fillies who were at this point pretty unproven. I mean, their form is starting to stack up a bit. I mean, she travelled like the best horse in this race, and she was given her £12, which was a fair ask. The 3-year-old form, it's hard to weigh up. I think it's still a bit short of a race like the King George. So, I mean, Kalpana for me is still a bit overrated. I mean, the handicapper here has a £9 short of Jan Bruegel, and I've her form from last year. I still think that's a bit shy. The horses she was beating up last year aren't great, and I don't think she'll get her ground again this Saturday. But all her best runs have been when the rain's around, and it's been pretty dry here for the last week or so again.
The final replay is our main replay. It is the Coronation Cup, where Calandigan looked like he was going to win about here. I'd backed him that day, did not collect, and Jan Bruegel just kept on kicking. He was just so tough.
Yeah, he looked for all the money, didn't he, that go through? But I mean, this is not the first time he's done this. I think they obviously, for this race, they can use Epsom as the excuse because it's such a unique track. You can almost see him slightly hanging in towards the rail, which is the direction the hill. It's really severe on the TV and the replays. It doesn't show what it's like at all. You have to actually be at the track to realise how much of a camber there is there. But it's not the first time. He's often a horse that travels the best. I mean, he should have probably won the Champion Stakes last year at Ascot on Champions Day as well, but got a bit stuck on the rail, came with his run, and then Amat swept past him again there. He's almost a bit of a nearly horse. I mean, people call him worse than that. I wouldn't go as far as that. He's won some good races, and he did win his Group 1 last time. But I think he was just out-battled by Jan Bruegel there again, and if the pace is right, I think the same might happen again. It's why I think he's probably better over 10 furlongs, but a mile too.
Yeah, so you say that with obviously Calandigan, with Mikel Barcelona, of course, a couple of horses in those colours, the Aga Khan colours, have sort of seemingly loomed up to win some big races in the last couple of months and just haven't really stuck their head out. There was that horse at Royal Ascot, the filly, whose name just escapes me, started very short in the market there, but got edged out by an Irish compatriot. Yes, I'm trying to forget her name. It's been it was my last couple of days in England. That was a brutal beat. Yeah. But so is Calandigan the type of horse that almost, as we saw last start at when he was in France and he just bolted in, if he can sort of get it in his own terms and be in his own comfortable spot, he's almost impossible to beat. But when he gets into a bit of a street fight, there's a bit of a concern.
I'd say so. He's 4 from 10, so he's not a horse that, struggles to win. He has won races, but it just seems to be at that top level. It just seems a bit shy of just going past. And, just Jan Bruegel, he's got a bit of a high head carriage. He looks a little bit awkward, but, he's by Galileo. He's hard as nails. Rebels Romance is hard as nails. These horses are going to want it to become, Ascot's quite a long straight, quite a stiff finish. They're going to want it to be a hard finish at the end. They're going to want to fight. And that's, at the prices especially, I would probably be leaning towards those two over Calandigan with that in mind.
And just finally, before we get to your tip, do you give Green Impact any chance if he turns up?
Probably not. It'd be a big price for a reason. He's got a bit of form. He's unexposed, but I think he'd have to run a big career best to probably even get within a few lengths, to be honest.
All right, we've gone through them all. What's your top tip?
At the prices, definitely Jan Bruegel. I think, Aidan and Ryan Moore and Ballydor, they don't often get these tactics wrong. If they get it right again today, I think I would much rather be siding with Jan. He's only had 6 runs as well. I think he's got a lot more to come, whilst Calandigan he's a bit more exposed now. I think his level is there, and I think Jan Bruegel might just be starting to improve past that.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I was ready to absolutely launch into Young Bruegel this time last year when he was out here for the Melbourne Cup. He would have won that in an absolute hand canter. But yeah, I think he's going to be there because also just note on the World Pool, given Calandigan sort of has a bit more open form and with the last start, big number, Mikel Barcelona, of course, known in Hong Kong, as is Ryan Moore, of course. You may get a little bit better odds on Jan Bruegel with the World Pool, of course, and maybe even play an exacta with Rebels Romance. Plenty of money to be thrown around in the exotics this weekend. These pools will be huge. But that is the King George. We're going to have a look at another couple of races on the card. Of course, as mentioned, declarations are not out as of yet, so a bit hard to go through it all. But we'll have a look at two more races at Ascot. The 220, as you call it, race 3 is what we call it here in Australia. It is the Valiant Stakes for the fillies over a mile. Any lean there? Because it looks a pretty interesting race given the jockey booking so far. Because I thought Cajole was quite good at Ascot and then extremely disappointing when not getting the job done last start.
Yeah, I mean, she's probably the one on paper that takes the eye at the moment. Again, they don't want to go too overboard with this because the field is probably going to cut in half, I think, in the next few hours. But I mean, with Ryan Moore booked, I mean, she was a handicap blob at one point. Her mark was ridiculous and probably should have won at Ascot. Last time did fluff her lines, like you say. Um, I think the one I'm leaning towards is Jancis for Willie McCreary, Irish Raider. I think this is quite an open race. You've got lots of 3-year-olds with sort of the unknown form coming through, quite sexy profiles with the big trainers and stuff. That they could be anything. They could have another £10 or so up their sleeve. But Jancis has just been running rock solid races in Group 1s and Group 2s. And I think with a repeat of that, can't be far away in this at all. You've been running behind horses like Porta Fortuna. She'd be heavy odds on in a race like this. So I just think that's really sets the standard, and I'd rather lean towards a horse like this in a race like that. And the trainer Willie McCreary as well goes really under the radar, so you're probably going to get a fairly decent price on her as well.
I don't mind it at all there. So a couple of horses to watch there. And of course, the international handicap, the 3 o'clock, it is a 7 furlong race, 1,400 metres down at the straight. And well, this field could be anything given the current entries, but you do get a bit of a guide given the jockey bookings as well. And just, there's been some money around, as you can see, which will obviously change leading into the day with the World Pool, of course. But where are you leaning in this? It is a big field handicap. It's worth a bit of money. Where are we looking?
Yeah, probably not a race you guys are used to looking at down in Australia there, but it's Alto he's clearly the horse to beat after his Bunbury Cup run. Will Buick's booked as well, which is, he doesn't ride horses that don't have a chance in races like this. He's officially £5 well in as well, so the handicap has put him up since that, but because this is an early closer, he still runs off his old mark, so that's a big tip in itself. But he actually won the Bunbury Cup last year before running in this race again, where he's only midfield. So I'm a bit hesitant to lean towards him, especially at the prices. You need a luck in this race. There's going to be probably towards 20 runners and stuff. I've got probably two bigger prices. Fresh, who is actually a bit of a cliff horse of mine. He's a veteran. Ascot form counts for a lot of these big handicaps, and he loves it, Ascot. I think he's won there 4 times. He won this back in 2022. He's snuck up the weights a little bit, which isn't ideal for a horse that's 7-8, I think. But he's just held up to pick up the pieces, and I think with a race like this, that's what you want. There's going to be horses going too hard. It's a stiff track. And the other one on that literal same sort of thinking is Lord Bertie, probably even bigger price, to be honest. He's got Jamie Spencer on board, who is probably, as you guys know, the master at coming off the pace on the rear. You can get some tough beats at times, but he's got that reputation as a hold-up jockey, and I think this is the first time he's ridden this horse for good reason. He really caught the eye at Doncaster 2 runs back. The run after that, his hood actually came off mid-race, so he's basically eased down. I just think he could sneak into a place, perhaps even go better, and just hope that these horses go too hard at the front, basically.
Jamie Spencer is not the most popular jockey in Australia, to say the least.
Yeah.
Couple of sleepy rides that the punters have seemingly not forgotten, nor will they. Nor will they forget the one time he knocked us all off when Side Glance won a McKinnon Stakes eons ago. But your other tip there, Danny Muscat on board. Of course, he spent some time down here, and he's a good mate of mine. So shout out to Dan. Go well, old son. But those are the couple of races at Ascot we want to look at. Of course, all the card at Ascot is World Pool this weekend. So bet with the World Pool and the Hong Kong Jockey Club. We do need to get across to York. There is a couple of races from York. Races 2 and 3 are World Pool races this weekend because that is making up for the races a few weeks ago that were missed. We've got the Skybet Dash. It's a handicap over 6 furlongs. It's the 2 o'clock. It's race number 2. I had a bit of a look through this, and I thought Jubilee Walk, second up, gelded, has had a wind up at the end of last preparation, and he did start favourite in a handicap at Royal Ascot last season. Went across to Bahrain and didn't do much, but second up, I thought he'd be open to improvement, which Shane Foley already booked as well.
Yeah, that's an eye-catching booking as well, I'd say. He's not often riding across here, so there's obviously a reason for that as well. And he rides a lot of the Yulong horses, so there might be one on the card that he's across for. But yeah, that Jubilee Walk, he's always promised to be quite a promising horse. He's just never quite kicked on, but he's definitely got a big pot on him handicap-wise. He ran well last time. That Alzahir's, been a very consistent sprinter over here in similar races. And I think the track will suit him too, a speedy track. You need gears to run well at York, and that horse has definitely got that, and quick ground as well, which we're 99% going to get. He ticked a lot of boxes. I was earing towards him as well, to be honest. So that might be a bad sign.
Yeah, well, we weren't too bad in Hong Kong when we caught up. Yeah. So we lined up at a few at Ascot. So this isn't too bad. God bless Tastatiera for winning the cup in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Go across to the next event, which is a pretty decent race here.
Yeah, it's good race.
It is the York Stakes. It is a Group 2 over 1.5 miles. Is that 2,100 in Australian terms?
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah, that's right.
So Almacam is going to be your very short price favourite if he runs, but having listened to a lot of podcasts and reading a lot of news over the last few weeks, paying attention to the UK racing, if this track is anywhere near hard, he's not going to run. So that's a bit of a warning for punters. If he turns up, his form is simply too good. He beat Ombudsman last start, who of course won the Prince of Wales. What do we know about this track this weekend at York? Because he's going to take up a massive percentage of the market if he turns up.
The plan earlier in the week was definitely to run. Obviously, the decks are coming out shortly today, but as far as I'm aware, I'm pretty certain he's going to run. I think they've had just enough rain up there for him to run. They're keeping him at 10 furlongs, 1-2 this year. He could be, a jump-on horse. He, like you say, that Ombudsman form is red hot. I don't think Ombudsman was quite on his A game this year, so I'd be a bit at that run at Sandown before. I would be a bit wary of reading that too, literally. But he's really exciting horse. We're lacking a couple of stars, I'd say, over the mile 2, mile 4 trip for now. He's one that could really come through. He's unexposed. Good trainer, Ed Walker. With the horses he does get, he's an exciting horse. I think he needs to win this to obviously come to that reputation, but he probably should. No excuses at a track like York, and as long as it isn't rock hard, he'll be lining up as the one to be. I'm quite excited to see him, to be honest. He's probably sort of second in line as the main attraction this weekend behind the King George.
That's very interesting to hear. So if he doesn't turn up, I've just had a quick look through here. One for the Australian punters. Good old Royal Champion lines up here, of course, did spend some time down under. A little bit of a nutter. Didn't live up to his talent here, but he was in the Prince of Wales and he wasn't terrible. And he's going to be pretty big odds if Almacam runs. And if he runs anything like he did in Australia, where he gets out and just keeps bowling along, he'd be hard to catch. And Alice say, well, if you can catch him, you could probably catch the Loch Ness Monster. But that horse is full of talent, even though he's 8.
Yeah. No, Alice, he's very frustrating. He's another one that doesn't fire much off the bridle, to put it kindly. But again, he could pop up at any time. And a bit like Royal Champion, probably a bit quirky, but at some point they could easily pick up a race like this, especially if some of these big guns don't turn up in the end. Now,
no, Green Impact is down in this race as well, so obviously a decision to be made in the next few hours for punters there. He'd be a bit better placed in this, you would think?
Definitely. Oh, yeah, his 2-year-old form, that's pretty good, the form behind Delacroix. His Guineas run wasn't bad. I mean, he's unexposed at the trip as well. He's mainly been going over a mile. You can forgive him the run behind Lambourne in the Irish Derby as well. This is definitely more his level for now. He's got a good race in him at some point, yeah.
Well, that is the races this weekend previewed for the World Pool, of course, brought to you by the World Pool. Is this World Pool preview with punters.com.au. Now, don't forget, as said, all the races at Ascot are World Pool races 2 and 3 from York on Saturday. Then on Sunday, the excitement continues. You've got all 10 races from Greyville and Champions Day across in South Africa, plus races of 5 and 6 at Munich as well. So there's 12 races for you to get your teeth into this weekend as well, on Sunday afternoon. That is. But of course, next week, as said, glorious Goodwood. You've got the Goodwood Cup, Sussex Stakes, and the Nassau Stakes Day, which we will be previewing here on the Hold All Tickets World Pool preview. Callum, thanks for joining us today, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Now, don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Please give us a follow across all social medias. The platform is at Punters, Facebook, Instagram, and X. Like and subscribe. And of course, give us a shout out on social media when you can. Thank you for watching. Make sure you gamble responsibly. Hope you back a winner.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.